Why is it that whenever we talk about creativity, we almost always picture, I don't know, a lightning strike?
Yeah, exactly. Like some kind of magic moment.
Right. You think of the genius artist, the musician, maybe the painter, suddenly blessed by a muse, pulling this perfect thing out of nowhere.
It's a huge misconception, and honestly, it's kind of damaging. We've all sort of bought into this idea that creativity is this special skill.
Or just a talent you either have or you don't.
Exactly. And because we wait for that sign, that lightning bolt,
Right.
well, we basically give ourselves permission to ignore this really fundamental creative impulse that honestly everyone has. We're always waiting for the act to start.
And that exact waiting game is what our source material today, Rick Rubin's fantastic book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, really aims to take apart.
Oh, absolutely. He completely flips the script.
He does. The whole premise is that creativity isn't some act you perform or even a skill you go out and acquire. It's more fundamental. It's a state of being you have to, well, cultivate
Yeah.
and return to.
It's a really profound reframing, isn't it? This isn't a how-to manual for making a hit record or something.
Wrong, not at all.
It's more like a spiritual guide almost for aligning your whole life so that creativity just becomes your natural way of operating, your default mode.
That's exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
To unpack the framework Rubin lays out, both the philosophy and the practice. So let's start right there with that core definition. If creativity is a state of being, not just some special skill, what does that mean for someone who, doesn't call themselves an artist?
It means the category artist is just way too narrow. Creativity, in his view, is this natural way of expressing ourselves that's available to literally everyone.
Everyone, like even if you're designing a spreadsheet.
Yes, or organizing your kitchen pantry, or figuring out how to lead a team meeting more effectively. The creative act isn't necessarily about making a physical piece of art that hangs on a wall. It's more about how you connect with the universe, with reality itself, using your own unique personal sensitivity.
Okay, so it's a way of interacting with life itself. That completely changes the role of the creator then. If you're connecting with the universe, you're definitely not the lone genius inventing everything from scratch.
Right. That whole idea of the struggling genius, he argues that's mostly ego talking.
Okay.
Rubin says the real role is more like being a conduit, or maybe a filter. You're receiving something that already exists, something, bigger than just you.
So your job isn't to invent from nothing.
No, your job is simply to show up, pay really close attention to what you notice, stay receptive, and then express whatever comes through using your own unique filter.
Okay, hang on. Let's ground that idea of being a conduit, because it sounds a little abstract, maybe.
Right.
If I'm, say, a project manager, how am I a conduit? What does that look like?
Well, think about it. A project manager who's acting like a conduit isn't the person banging the table, insisting their initial idea is the only way.
Okay, I see.
It's the person who really listens openly to the data, to what the team knows collectively, to the limits of the system itself. And then they allow the best solution, which kind of already exists as a potential, to flow through them and take shape. They're filtering information that's already there, not just pushing their own ego-driven answer.
That makes a lot more sense. We're filtering something bigger than just our own brain power. Which brings us straight to the source. If we're conduits, what exactly is this cosmic stream we're trying to tune into?
Yeah, he calls it the source, or sometimes cosmic energy, collective intelligence, things like that. And he's very clear. The specific name you use, it doesn't really matter.
So the label isn't important.
Not at all. What matters is believing that the potential ideas, the best art, the most elegant solutions, they actually already exist. They're out there, floating around, almost like radio waves.
Like signals in the air. The ideas are already out there, and we're the receivers. Okay. But if the signal's always broadcasting, why aren't we picking it up all the time? Why are we, deaf to the source so often?
Well, that's the core issue, isn't it? It's because of the main thing blocking the signal. Our own ego.
The ego.
This is the central battle for every single person trying to create something, doesn't matter what field. It's ego versus essence. The ego is just loud, it's demanding, it constantly transmits static, basically drowning out the signal.
Tell me more about that static. What kind of ego behaviors actually block the flow?
Well, the ego is that voice that's just obsessed with external validation, right? It's the inner critic constantly demanding results, worrying about how it'll be received.
So people will think the money.
Exactly. Obsessing over money or what your peers might say. It fundamentally ties the value of the work to the value of the self. But the essence, on the other hand, That's your authentic self.
Mm.
Curious, playful, true. It's the part of you that's focused on the sheer joy of receiving and expressing, just for its own sake.
Okay, but quieting that ego noise, I
Mm.
mean, that sounds like a full-time job in itself, maybe even a spiritual practice.
Mm.
How do we actually silence that part of us that seems hardwired to want approval and measure success?
This is where the essential shift comes in. You have to consciously, deliberately change your whole value system. You need to prioritize process over product.
Process over product.
Think about it. We're conditioned from day one, practically, to fixate on the outcome. The grade, the finished book, the viral video, the quarterly profit.
Right? The end result.
Rubin says, find the entire reward, the whole payoff, in the act of creating itself right now, in this very moment of doing it, not in what might come later.
Wait, though. That's a tough one. If I find the entire reward in the act, how does that work practically? How do I achieve professional success or financial stability? How do I submit the song if I truly don't care about the product?
That's the critical nuance. It's not about completely neglecting the product, like making sloppy work.
Gotcha.
It's about decoupling your sense of self-worth, your internal feeling of reward from how that outcome is received by the outside world. And the interesting thing is, the quality of the product often actually improves when you take away that pressure, that anxiety about external judgment. Because you can focus intensely on the process itself, the refinement, the trying things out, the sheer joy of the work. And then a successful product becomes almost a byproduct. It emerges naturally from your devotion to doing the work well.
So success gets defined internally by the quality of your effort and engagement, not externally by sales figures or reviews. That also totally reframes failure, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
If the process is the real reward, then even if the product fails by external standards, you still got the reward. You still had the experience of making it.
Precisely. And that allows you to embrace instability. Look, creativity is inherently messy. It's nonlinear. It's unstable.
It doesn't follow a straight path.
Never. So
Never.
if you feel lost, if you're plagued by self-doubt, if you make what looks like a mistake or take a detour, Rubin basically says that means you're doing it right. It means you're actually on the path of uncertainty. And that's the only place where real innovation, real discovery actually happens.
I love that idea. Feeling lost means you're doing it right. It flips. The script being lost isn't a sign you're failing. It's a signpost that you're moving into genuinely new territory, not just following some known map.
Yeah. If you're comfortable, if everything feels easy and known, you're almost certainly not creating something truly new. You're probably just replicating something familiar.
Okay, so to navigate this uncertain territory, we need tools.
Yeah.
And Rubin suggests they aren't fancy software or anything.
No, not at all. We need tools for awareness.
Awareness.
Exactly. First, awareness and sensitivity. You have to actively cultivate what he calls the power of noticing.
The power of noticing.
Yeah, it means training your perception, pulling yourself out of that autopilot default mode we live in most of the time. Start noticing the smallest, most seemingly mundane details of your world.
Can you give me some concrete examples, like how do I practice noticing on my commute to work?
It's really about being fully present in that moment. Notice the specific quality of the light hitting the pavement outside your window. Or notice the silence between the car horns, the texture of the coffee cup in your hand. These things aren't distractions. Rubin would say these are the raw, unfiltered inputs coming directly from the source. This sensory data is the raw material your unique filter is going to work with and transform.
Okay, so cultivating awareness is tool number one. And the second tool seems to be about creating the right environment for that signal, the source, to actually get through, which means making space and stillness.
Yes. You simply can't hear a faint signal if your life is constantly jammed with noise, distraction, endless digital pings.
Right. Constant input overload.
So you have to actively, deliberately carve out stillness. It's a discipline, a daily practice. You have to build these mental buffer zones into your life.
And it's not just about meditating for 20 minutes.
No, it's more fundamental. It's about consciously not reaching for immediate stimulation, like not grabbing your phone the second your eyes open, not filling every tiny gap, every transition moment with noise or scrolling.
You're essentially building a kind of harbor, right? A quiet place for inspiration to dock, instead of just hoping it somehow finds you out in the middle of a storm.
That's a great analogy. And this idea, this need for space and stillness, it completely demolishes that romantic myth of the muse just showing up whenever she feels like it, doesn't
Oh, totally. Goodbye, waiting for the muse.
Yeah, that myth is often just a very sophisticated excuse for procrastination, usually driven by the ego's fear of starting, of facing the blank page. Instead, Rubin champions discipline and devotion.
Meaning?
Meaning, you show up
Mhm.
regularly, every day if possible,
Mhm.
whether you feel inspired or not. The act of consistently sitting down and engaging with the work, that sustained effort, that is what summons the muse or opens the channel. Work isn't about waiting for inspiration. Work is what generates inspiration.
Okay, so we've tuned in, maybe quieted the ego a bit, built this quiet harbor, and we're showing up consistently. Good start. The next big question is, what should we actually make? What should we be expressing? If we're all unique conduits, how do we know which ideas are ours to bring into the world?
The answer he gives is both incredibly simple and profoundly liberating. Make what only you can make.
Only me.
Yes. Your specific viewpoint, your unique personal history, everything you've learned and felt, your particular way of filtering the world, that is your creative superpower. Nobody else on Earth has your exact combination of experiences and sensitivities.
That implies we absolutely have to stop trying to chase trends.
Yeah.
Right. Stop trying to guess what the audience wants to buy or trying to sound like whoever's most successful in our field at the moment.
Exactly that. Trying to create some calculated, crowd-pleasing abstraction. He basically says that's the fastest route to making something mediocre, something forgettable. Authentic expression, speaking directly from your most personal, specific truth, that will always resonate more deeply with other people in the long run. People crave sincerity, you know. The paradox is the more deeply personal and unique you dare to be in your expression, often the more universally it ends up connecting with others.
Okay, but what about when creativity isn't solitary? So much work, music, film, business innovation happens in teams. How do you maintain that ego-free conduit state when you're dealing with other people who might have their own strong egos?
Yeah, that's crucial. Collaboration to work in this framework also has to be fundamentally ego-free, or at least striving towards that.
Which sounds difficult.
It requires an incredible amount of active listening, really absorbing what others are bringing, and being willing to let your own precious initial idea evolve, or maybe even die completely for the sake of what the collective energy is creating.
So influence isn't just copying.
No, influence in this context isn't imitation at all. It's transformation. You take in the world, you take in the great work others have done, you take in your collaborators' ideas. You run all of that through your own unique filter, and what comes out is something entirely new. A third thing, born from that interaction.
So the input might be universal or collective, but the output still needs to be filtered through that personal or group authenticity. Okay, this all sounds, well, it sounds demanding. The discipline, fighting the ego constantly, embracing uncertainty. Why should someone endure all of that? What's the big payoff?
Because the ultimate reward isn't just the external product. It's something much deeper. Rubin essentially defines creativity itself as a spiritual practice, a path towards transcendence, you could say.
A spiritual practice. How so?
Because the art you create, whatever form it takes, is a direct reflection of your inner state at that moment, and simultaneously the very act of making it, of engaging in that process, actively shapes and refines your inner state.
So it's like a feedback loop.
Yeah.
A self-refining cycle.
Exactly. You commit to the discipline. That commitment starts to refine your character, makes you more aware, more patient. And then that refined character allows you to receive clearer, more authentic input from the source next time.
Which leads to better work, which further refines you.
Precisely. And this is why the book's subtitle is A Way of Being. It's not just about what you do for an hour in your studio or at your desk. It becomes how you do everything.
How you listen to your partner.
Yes, or how you cook a meal, how you notice the light changing on your walk. When you align your entire life around this goal of being a clear, sensitive receiver for whatever the source offers, you find yourself constantly tapping into the mystery of existence itself.
So the creative act is really less of a how-to guide for artists and more of a manifesto almost, for re-engineering your whole internal landscape to become a better conduit.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. It really is. And maybe if there's one core thought to take away from this whole deep dive, let it be this. The finished art, the song, the book, the successful project plan, that's really just the souvenir.
The souvenir.
Yeah. It's like the postcard you send back from the journey. It proves you went somewhere interesting.
But the real work, the actual creative act itself.
The real creative act, according to Rubin, is the ongoing construction of a life that makes you a worthy conduit. A life lived with enough sensitivity to notice the subtle things, enough stillness to listen past the noise of the ego, enough discipline to show up consistently, and, crucially, enough bravery to let go of the outcome.
You don't do creativity.
You are the creative act.